Hello, everybody. I am in Mexico City, and my friend that I'm visiting is working right now. So I thought I would come on and go ahead and do a live because today is the day of the webinar. We have like a couple hours left before the webinar begins. So I wanted to come on here, see how everyone's doing, remind everybody that today is the day. And if you can't make it, you can always still get tickets and watch it later. So the webinar is going to be, there will be, I think, 4 of us on the panel. I can never remember if it's 4 of us or 5 of us. And we'll be interviewing the author of the book, Why Can't I Just Leave? Which is about narcissistic abuse, or whether the person's narcissistic or a psychopath or a sociopath or whatever, whoever they are. You're in a trauma bond, you can't get out, you don't feel like you'll ever get your life back, you think you're crazy, you're not sure how to start the healing journey. All of that stuff is going to be talked about in the webinar. It's going to be really awesome. I'm super excited to be a part of it. It's my first webinar, and there's going to be really, really awesome creators slash educators in the webinar. So it's going to be very, very beneficial for anyone who is where I was a year ago. And even if you have been out for a while, or maybe you know someone who's in it, or you just want to educate yourself about this subject that's really still not very well understood, this is going to be a great tool for you. In the last 30 minutes, the audience will be able to ask questions of the author directly. So you'll be able to, whether it's like in the chat box or whether you come on microphone and ask, I'm not sure which one it is. I'm not the moderator for the webinar, but you'll be able to come on and you'll be able to ask your questions about abuse. Why are they like this? Why am I like this? Why can't I get away? Why can't I? Maybe I'm out, but I can't get over them. I'm just thinking about them all the time. What is going on? And so anything that we don't cover in the webinar, you'll be able to ask at the end, which is just, again, super valuable because this author is awesome. When I read her book, I was like, I've already read everything there is to know about narcissism and narcissistic abuse and covert abuse and all this stuff. And when I was reading that book, I was like, dang, okay, this is really awesome. I feel like it was written about my life. So, not about my life, about my last relationship. So, does anyone have any questions? It doesn't have to be abuse related. I always, when I do come on my lives, I do always allow people the opportunity to ask me or tell me anything because I am not just an abuse creator. I hold on really, really tight to, especially on Instagram, being a person who talks about abuse, who was in an abusive relationship, who wants to give back to the community, help the community, help people get out of these relationships, help people start healing and things like that. But I'm not just an abuse creator. There's a lot to me. There's a lot that I enjoy talking about and sharing with all of you. So please feel free to ask or tell me anything. I'm just hanging out. Oh, that's apple flavored. I was not expecting that to taste like apple juice. Because it's like orange. Okay, it does look like apple juice now that I'm looking at it. When is the webinar? Thank you for asking. It is tonight at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And again, if you can't make it tonight, it will be recorded. So it's definitely worth, if you feel like this topic might help you and it might benefit you in your healing journey and in your journey to get away from the situation that you're in. It's something that you can have sent to your inbox and you can watch it another time. I know a lot of people are still at home and their abuser's probably home at 6:30 p.m. Well, depending what time zone you're in. So if that's you and you're like, I gotta wait till you're at work and then I'll be able to watch it later, that's definitely an option for you. Let me pull up. We have sort of written out 6 things that we're going to really be focusing on talking about, and I will read those off to you so you know. You can kind of think about it and decide whether this sounds like something that you really need. Um, Let me pull it up. Where is it? Okay, no, it wasn't that far back. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So here are the 6 main things that we will be helping you work through. How to identify what keeps you stuck in a bad relationship, the definition of a narcissistic drama triangle and how it leads to endless fights, how to figure out if you're living with Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Mrs., and I'm going to add Mix Hyde for my non binary friends, how to break the trauma bond with your narcissistic partner or ex partner, the 7 ways to leave and which is best for you, and how to take control of your life and jumpstart your healing. So we're going to cover a lot. We're going to cover, trying to understand why they're like this, how it works, the tactics they use, um, why we're stuck, why we can't get out, trying to figure out if you are in a situation where this person is showing you Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mrs. or Mix Hyde, where you don't even know who this person is because one minute they're kind and loving and they're love bombing you, and the next minute they're saying horrible things, they're doing horrible things. Obviously, breaking the trauma bond is a huge topic nowadays. A lot of people want to know how to do that, but it seems impossible. So we'll be talking about that. And then the 7 ways to leave, because obviously it's not a one size fits all for those of us who are trying to get out of these relationships. And what might have worked for me might not work for you. So that's going to be really, I think, an important tool. And then, of course, how to start your healing, because just getting out of these relationships doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to feel better tomorrow. It's a long process. There are certain steps that seem to be helpful for more people than not. So we'll be kind of talking about that. Let me go back and check on these comments here. So tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, if you can't make it, you can still sign up for the webinar. You can still get your ticket. And if you're not, whether you're there or not, it will be sent to your inbox so you can watch it later. How to come out of narcissistic abuse from spouse, step to step. We'll be talking about that. We will be talking about how to get out, how to get away, what's the best, safest approach for you. Oh my God, a friend of mine was just like this, making me breakfast, then telling me what's wrong with me. Yes, absolutely. So a lot of us creators who are talking about narcissistic abuse from so there are like therapists or people who have studied this, and like maybe they don't have lived experience with this, maybe they do, but a lot of us who are coming here with lived experience and sharing our stories are talking about partners. There are some people in our group. We've created a group called the Narc Avengers, and we're going to start traveling around, having meet and greets, offering in-person coaching sessions because we're all coaches now. And there are several of us in the group, not myself, who have narcissistic parents, and they talk about that a lot. But absolutely anyone can be narcissistic, and you can have like a narcissistic friend or roommate, someone who is like, they tend to come off like they have like really, really good intentions and that they really care about you, but then they're actually really harming you. And it's hard when it's a friend because like you can have a trauma bond with your friend as well, or your roommate. And it's really hard to get away and you feel guilty and you're like, well, what are they going to do if they don't have me? Well, they'll find someone else. Trust me, they will find someone else to fill your bedroom or to fill your friendship slot in their life. It's usually quite easy for them to find other people to slide into their little weird games. So absolutely. If it's a friend or even a parent, any of that is absolutely valid. People go through all that with all kinds of people. It could be your boss. So if you're struggling with this from anybody, the webinar will be great. I'm really excited about it because it's a lot of really important information in a short amount of time, and we'll be reaching a lot of people, which again, like all of us make content and all of us are putting stuff out into the world to help people. But when we do coaching, which is really, really important, and obviously more in depth and stuff like that, it costs more. It's a longer process. So this is really going to be a tool for people who aren't quite ready to financially take that leap of hiring a coach or a therapist, but really need some information to kind of get the wheels turning. Maybe to just sit in this webinar room and to realize that you're not alone, that there's 200 other people who are desperate for this information and are trying to get out of these situations, because when you're in it, you feel like you're the only person in the world who feels it and you feel crazy. And yeah, it's like the loneliest time in the world. And that's why I'm really excited to be a part of it. Oh, sorry. I'm wearing a swimsuit. Don't worry about that. She actually bought a painting. Then when I visited her, she said, I talk too much and everything I need to fix about myself. So confusing. She bought a painting from you. So she was like supporting you, but then complained about everything you do. I have definitely had friends like that. And like, I don't know if they're like, I can't diagnose anybody. And obviously, most narcissists don't get diagnosed, but like, there are a lot of people who are really, the friendships are one sided and they seem like they want, again, they seem like they want to support you. And yet it has to be on their terms. It has to be like you have to be behaving the way they want you to. If you go like out of bounds from what they have like set for the expectations of the relationship, the friendship, the whatever, you're in trouble. They're critiquing you. And it's not in a loving way. It's not like, hey, it really hurts me when you do this. And or like I feel like our friendship is one-sided and I'm the only one who's like whatever, like how do you feel about that? And then, the other person's like, yeah, actually I'm having a really hard time and I'm not really best friend right now, but like I would appreciate if like you'd hang in there with me because I really do care about this friendship. Whatever. Well, constantly complaining and blaming and projecting all this really yucky stuff that like none of us really want to have to deal with. I think it is more for people still in the relationship. Would you agree? Other than the last section, I think it is. I mean, it's called Why Can't I Just Leave? The book is, and the webinar is. So it is going to be a lot of information targeted towards still being in it, yeah. But I do think that there are a lot of people also who have left but don't understand what was happening at the time. Like they know that it was wrong. They know that it was that it caused a lot of damage, for lack of a better word, but they really don't have that last piece of information to help. For me, for example, knowing and understanding what happened and what was going on and why and how and all of that stuff really helped me to be able to heal. So for me, like that information is priceless. And I do get a lot of people who reach out and they say, thank you so much. I've been out of my relationship for 10 years or 20 years or 5 years. And you just described it perfectly. So you've like hearing your story has helped me, get some closure about what happened or to really understand. And then of course, the issue of like, if you've gotten out of these relationships, but you don't understand it, you are susceptible to getting back into these kinds of relationships or friendships or dealing with a parent who's narcissistic, because you don't understand what's going on. And it's not our fault that we don't understand. Like this is something that is fairly new being talked about publicly and being shared about and everything like that. Hey, Kat. So we're just now like learning and understanding how 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 it feels when you've been treated this way. What it looks like what the tactics are, why, all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be helpful no matter what. Like I would go to it now. I would go to it now, even with all the information that I know, just because there's always there's always going to be someone who says something to someone and it clicks, right? Because we're all different. Like for me, with my journey of like figuring out what was going on, I would find a piece of information and it didn't click. It was like, oh, it almost adds up, but not quite. And I was actively like gaslighting myself into thinking that couldn't be what it was. Well, they did do this, and this says they never do that. Or, well, sometimes they're nice, and so they can't be abusive. They can't be whatever. And then like later on, someone said something, or I listened to a podcast or something and it clicked. And then all of a sudden I was like, I need to revisit this. And I started reading and like doing all of the stuff. And then I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't deny it anymore. I couldn't make excuses. I couldn't gaslight myself anymore. And they couldn't gaslight me anymore because I couldn't unsee it. So it's definitely going to be helpful. I ended the friendship and took a break from the group I was in with her. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you have to. I just took a break from my sister. because I don't like our relationship and I don't know what's going on and I don't know why. It's been an ongoing problem. And this last time that I was home, I was like, I just don't have the mental capacity for this. So I took a break and I left like the family chat groups, and it was really hard because I don't want to feel left out. But I knew that I needed to distance myself and like didn't want to be I just wanted to be far from like that yucky feeling. And so absolutely it sucks because you kind of feel like the crazy one, you feel like the bad one, you feel like you're causing problems for the group, you're causing drama for the family by being like, I don't want this. Where and everyone else is like maybe they're not affected by it as much, or maybe they don't see it, and everyone else is like, well, we're fine, and you're like, okay, I'm crazy. But you have to protect your peace, you have to put up your own boundaries, and nobody should be challenging your boundaries. Like the other day I posted, I haven't brought it over to Instagram yet, but I posted a video sharing why I wouldn't date any of my followers, because I've had some followers cross some boundaries, like very, very clear disregard for my boundaries that I had set in place. And at the time, I was still really learning how to firmly set boundaries. Like my boundaries were, there was wiggle room, and I didn't want there to be wiggle room. So I needed some time to learn how to really be firm in my boundaries. And I shared about that. And someone commented, well, not all followers would do that. Well, you're challenging my boundary, and that's disrespectful. If I tell you that my boundary is that I don't eat chicken and I don't want chicken in my house, don't bring a chicken to my house. Like that's a silly example, but somebody, like, once you set a boundary, if someone's like, well, why? Well, have you thought of this? Well, what are you like? What will let this is my boundary. I've thought about it. This is what I need to do right now. And a lot of us who have been in these kinds of relationships, maybe we have siblings, maybe we have parents who have, like, this is how we grew up. And then we get in these relationships, these friendships, and we're people pleasers. Like, y'all, I did not know I was a people pleaser until a couple of months ago. Like, being out of my abusive relationship, being single I'm almost single for a year, which I am just like, this has been like the best year of my life, like learning about myself and healing and traveling and setting boundaries and doing all that fun stuff. I forgot what I was going to say. I totally forgot what I was going to say. I got distracted because I saw someone pop in. But like, yeah, totally forgot what I was going to say. If someone wants to remind me where I was going with that, because yeah, I totally got distracted. But is this chat confidential? Someone asked me, where did that go? Is this chat? So anyone who's in this chat right now obviously can see what you're saying. If I save this and post it later, nobody will be able to see who said the question. So I'm reading the questions out loud, but nobody can see that it was you. And the webinar is going to be confidential as well. Like, no one else in the group will be able to see that you're there. The only person who's going to know you're there is the person who set it up and who is getting your email when you buy the ticket. You make such good sense. Love listening to you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sending love and blessings to you both from Philadelphia. Oh, thank you. I don't know who both is. It's just me. There's only one of me. Oh, do you mean Adler? Adler's not here right now. So thank you. I was like, wait, what? I'm only one. What else, y'all? I want to invite you. I know that this happens a lot when there's people that are just kind of hanging out, and I'll be talking or someone else will be asking something, and you want to like, you want to ask something, but you're not sure if you should pop in. Like, this is a really safe space. And I've always been so impressed by everyone who's hanging out in my lives because everyone's always really, really supportive. So please feel free to ask whatever you're struggling with and we'll talk about it. You're talking about people pleasing and discovery. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like, just, like being taught that. And so, yeah, a lot of us are people pleasers, and setting a boundary feels yucky, and we don't know how to set a boundary. And if we set a boundary, we waver. And then once you waver on the boundary, people don't take you seriously because you're like, thanks for reminding me, by the way. She didn't want to do this, but then she did. So it's fine. Um, and it took me, yeah, like I said, it took me being alone and then feeling this kind of yucky feeling with other people, friends, ads, dad, family, being like, I'm a people pleaser. I am a people pleaser. And I don't want to be. I don't like it. It feels yucky. Because when you're people pleasing and it's not even someone that you really even super care about on that level, like, they're not like your partner or your mom, or it's just like, why did I people please that person? Because I don't know how to set a boundary. And you deserve to know how to set boundaries. I am like, once I get a schedule in place and I have a more solid routine, which I'm not a routine person, and I have like set aside time to like work on some of the projects I want to work on, I'm going to do like a workshop on boundary setting, because I asked a while ago in my stories, like, do you struggle with making boundaries? And everyone said yes. And there was a very large amount of queer people who said yes. Not everyone, obviously. A lot of people said yes. And a lot of queer people said yes. And can you imagine the layers if there are queer folks in here or who are watching this later? Like, especially because we're taught from such a young age that we're like not supposed to be who we are. And so our whole lives were just people pleasing and trying to be like, well, how do you want me to be? Or like, our parents put this on us that they want us to be athletic, they want us to be smart, they want us to be this job, they want us to be, and then there's like the cultural layers where there's people who are raised in certain cultures where they're like, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a musician, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, you're going to act this way, you're not going to be gay, you're not going to like whatever, you're going to dress this way, you're going to go to church every Sunday, whatever it is. And we're all like, okay, because otherwise I'm not worthy, otherwise I'm not loved, otherwise I'm not whatever. So very, very real situation that we have on our plates. I finally served my husband again since he didn't accept in May. I got the courage up after 3 days of not talking to him. Of course, within those 3 days, he was being sticky, sweet, and now, of course, I'm feeling like I made a mistake. Was it? Will he return to his abusive ways? Is it just because I have a shiny new toy he wanted to be present for? Am I gaslighting myself? What do you mean by shiny new toy? You don't have to say um, if you don't want to, but so I know you've I believe that I get a lot of messages, but I believe that you've shared this with me before via either the anonymous thing or in my DMs or something like that, because I've served before and he said no, and I've tried again now. That happens to a lot of people, but I feel like it was you. But it like not letting you leave a relationship. Like it's one thing when, both people are like, this really isn't working. What do we do? Well, like, I'm not ready to go. Me neither. What does this look like? But when you're like miserable and you've tried to get out of it many, many, many times and they're just not letting you, that's a red flag. Because think about it, y'all. If you really love someone, if this person really, really loves you and they see how miserable you are, but they're not changing, they're not putting in the work, they're not going to therapy, they're not, nothing has changed. How can, like, why are they holding on to you then? What's the reason they're holding on to you? If you're not happy, they know you're not happy, they don't care that you're not happy. Is that love? I don't care if you're not happy. I'm keeping you right here. Is that love? No. Is that someone who sounds like they're going to change? No. I can't answer if he will return to his abusive ways, but be very, very wary of someone who is all of a sudden loving and present and calling you and bringing you food and making sure you're okay and wanting to have conversations because you've left, because you're trying to leave, because you're trying to set a boundary. But only then they get loving. That's an issue. And that's love bombing. That's a manipulation tool to make you question yourself, to make you think, I think I'm the crazy one. I think I'm overreacting. Look how hard he or she or they are working to keep me around. If they're fighting, and this was something that I fell for many times, they're fighting this hard. I'm halfway out the door and they are fighting it. They must love me. That is something that happened very early on. I tried to break up with my abuser very early on because the red flags were flapping right in my face. And I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel comfortable. And I was like, I have a kid. There's something off about this situation. And they physically restrained me from walking away from them. They physically restrained me from entering the house where my child and my friend were waiting for me to come back inside. And more, um, more went on. And my stinking, traumatized, not understanding, what love is and isn't and what's okay and what isn't, even though I knew that it wasn't okay to do that, my brain said, this person's really fighting for you. Your ex-husband never tackled you when you were in an argument. He must not love you like this person does. Twisted, right? Twisted. Now I know that actually my ex-husband, whatever amount that he loved me, knew that he could never put his hands on me because that's not okay. And this person doesn't understand that that's not okay, or does understand that it's okay and doesn't care. So that's what I really want you to be aware of. Someone who's all of a sudden crying when they never cry any other time and saying they can't live without you or your kids or whatever, that's manipulation. Hi, girl, what's your name? My name is on my profile. I'm a foster mom and I got a biological sibling for my adopted daughter. Amazing things, but he wasn't really present last time either. I see. Okay, yeah. So he wants to show up and he wants to look good, and just be wary. Again, I'm not there. I don't know your situation. I can't say whether he'll change or not, but you know his pattern. You know whether he's actually genuinely changed or not. And pay attention to the pattern. Pay attention to actions over words. Like, are they matching up? If he says, I'm going to change, I'm going to go to therapy, I'm going to start validating you, I'm going to start taking you seriously in what you say, I'm going to start whatever, and it's like you can see change, and like change is hard. Change takes time. It's a lot of work. It takes time. Healing is hard, but you should see a genuine interest in wanting to do better. You asked about the shiny new toy, it's the baby, yeah. And babies aren't toys. And I know you said it like that. I know you know the baby's not a toy, but like babies are not toys and they're not pawns, and animals are not pawns. Like someone buying you a dog or a cat or whatever when you're like on the edge of trying to break up with them is manipulation. Wanting to have a baby or marry you or take that next relationship step is manipulation. And we fall for it because that's what we're taught is like the next step of like love. Oh, you really love someone, you get married. Oh, you really love someone, you have a baby together. Oh, you really love someone, you get a dog together. You get on a lease together, you buy a house together. But that's not necessarily true when it comes to abusive people, to manipulative people. Love listening to your advice. Thanks for bringing so much awareness to subjects that aren't spoken about enough. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It keeps me going. It really does. And actually, right now I am in Mexico City. And normally when I travel, I try not to talk about abuse very much. Last time when I was in Spain, I did because I was there for a long time. And I tend to just create whatever comes to mind. So if something comes to mind, I'm like, I should share this. I do. But like, for example, right now on Instagram, I wouldn't necessarily like post a reel about abuse or like share much in my stories. And like, I just want to be happy. I'm in Mexico for a couple of days. I don't want to talk about this, but today is the day of the webinar. And I'm really excited to be on the webinar. And I really want to reach people and remind people that it's available. It's going to be a really awesome tool. It's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time today. So if that's something that, if you're sitting here asking me these questions and benefiting from what I'm saying, I promise you'll benefit from the author of the book, Why Can't I Just Leave? Speaking on this subject. We'll be asking her really, really important questions. We will be talking about her book. We'll be talking about, I can read it again, but we have 6 main points that we'll be covering. And then also at the end, if you attend it live, you'll be able to ask questions directly. So this is definitely something that I believe will help a lot of people. And yeah, it's going to be really important. I'm really excited about it. So yes, today I am doing a little free pass on my no abuse rule. Sorry, I am wearing a swimsuit. This top is super cute, but like the more I squiggle and squirm around, my swimsuit is going to peek out, but hey. Okay. What else, y'all? I think I might not stay on too long because I want to get a couple things done here while my friend is working. Once he's done working, we are free to go out and explore Mexico and enjoy our time together. So I want to check some more things off my to-do list. How long will we be in Mexico? Is it hard to travel without Adler? Yes, it is. This is my second solo trip to the same place. I came to Mexico City earlier this year. I came in March just to visit. I hadn't seen this friend in 13 years, so it's really amazing. And this time I'm actually back for an Instagram collaboration with a hotel in Mexico City. I got selected for it and I was like, I'm coming back, friend. Like, let's do this. You're coming with me. And I'll actually be back later this year for his wedding. So pretty cool that after 13 years and like having distance between us because of the state of my relationships. Like I pushed away a lot of the healthy, really, really good people in my life because I wasn't healthy. And I was like, I have nothing to share with you because I don't like my life and I'm miserable and I don't want to admit it. And like just being able to like rekindle and not just with him, like some of the people I visited in Spain and my friend in New York and all that stuff. Like I'm really rekindling those long-term special friendships. So it's really been an awesome experience this year and having the freedom to do that again. Because this is who I was before I had Adler, before I got married, before I got in an abusive relationship. Like nobody ever knew where I was. I was always like off somewhere chasing the world. Um, but it is hard. I typically only leave him for like 4 days tops, so like a long weekend. He's with his dad, of course, which is good. He hadn't seen his dad for 3 months. If you've been following me, Ad and I have been traveling. We were visiting my family. We went to Spain for a couple of weeks, so he's just really excited to be with his dad, and to have his toys back and to be back at home. And also his grandpa is coming today. So his grandpa's going to be there. So he's happy, which makes me feel a lot less guilty for leaving him. But we were together 24/7 for 90 days straight. So I was just like, I love you. Bye. It's so important. And this is something that took me, again, since leaving this relationship, to be aware of the fact that as parents, especially as moms, um, we are so pressured by society to give up our entire identity for our kids, to not have hobbies, to not have like you can like have friends, but they have to be mom friends, to not dress a certain way, to not act a certain way. And like I'm a person too, and I want Adler to see that like that I love him so much that I took care of myself. Because for so long I was lost. I was just a mommy. And it's really hard when they're little because like you don't want to leave them when they're really small and you can't fathom being far away from them and they need you so much. But yeah, so I have two other solo trips planned this year, and one of them is going to be a little bit longer, and I am a little bit nervous about it. But I feel like it's worth it. I do really prefer to travel with him, though. Obviously, if it's more than like 4 days, I want him to come with me. And also, whenever I do, like, so I'm in Mexico City and I see all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ad would love this. And it's really hard, but it's also, you know, I'll take him with me someday. He's my little travel buddy. So thank you for asking. I do always appreciate when you all ask me things also that aren't abuse related and like just about my life because again I've said this earlier, but like I'm not an abuse account. I am a person who has a lot going on, and I also talk about abuse because I think it's really important. So Is a webinar here on Instagram? It's not. When you get your ticket, you will be sent the link for the webinar. I already have mine in my inbox. I'm ready to go. And super excited. But yeah, you'll get a link and it will be completely like no one will know you're there. No one, I don't think anyone will see the other names. And if you're worried about the Dr. Carrie McAvoy, who's hosting this event, is the only person who will see your name. And she told me that anyone who's nervous about having your name like out there, you can make a fake name. You can be John or Jane Doe, and just you have to have a real email. So if that helps. I needed this. Mom guilt is real. Yeah, I would like to start making more content about my journey with like mom guilt and learning to do things for myself and things like that. But the problem with making anything that is about a child is it brings out the horrendous people. People will criticize you for blinking wrong when a kid's involved. They're like, you shouldn't blink like that in front of your kid. And like, it's horrible. Um, so I had to like toughen up my skin a little bit for that one. Like when it comes to the horrible comments on my abuse content, my skin is tough because I'm like, I know you're struggling. You're struggling and you're projecting this onto me. I can understand. You've got your trauma, I've got mine, and you just decided to hurl that at me. I get it. But when it's like mom stuff, I'm like, I'm not there yet. What got you into ASL translating? Will you continue to do that or coaching more? Depends on where I live. And this is something that like I've been for almost a year. I've been at a huge crossroads, right? I'm at a fork in the road. I am not currently on a lease or I don't have a mortgage. Like I'm not tied down by anything. If you don't know, I live with my son's dad. Um, I'm in the office. I have my own room there. This is temporary, but it's been longer temporary than either of us thought it would be. And we're constantly like troubleshooting and making sure that like this is still what's best for all of us. It's not the best for either of us adults, but like, is this the best for Adler? Is this still helpful for both of us? And neither of us are suffering. But I don't like the current interpreting situation where I am. I've been working in the same place. I work in a factory and there's a lot of downtime. And a lot of people would like that because it's like easy money. I don't like that. I worked really hard to get nationally certified and I feel bad complaining about this because I have a good income when I'm doing that. But I feel sad that I'm just not using this amazing gift that I have in a way to give back. Like I want to interpret for nonprofit organizations that are helping people, saving lives, changing the world. Like when I lived in Idaho, I would interpret at like rallies and training events and things like that with again nonprofit organizations working to make spaces more accessible, working to make an all whatever. And I just felt so happy with what I was doing. And now I'm really, really struggling with it because I'm just like I feel like I sold my soul to the devil. And I don't talk about this very often, but I am trying to balance it out with other things. So having, limited amounts of coaching clients. So if you want to be on my coaching waitlist, get on it now because I'm only going to accept so many people because I do still want to interpret. And I want to have it be balanced. And I want to I want it to be a balance. How did I get into it? I just decided to do it and it worked for me. And I'm very lucky because it doesn't work for everyone who thinks that they want to become an interpreter. I loved seeing your pictures from Spain. You've inspired me to travel abroad again. I'm so glad. Sometimes I worry that it's like that I'm like pretentious because I'm like, well, now I'm in Spain with my kid. Like everyone can do this. And I know that it's not accessible for everyone to do that. And I'm very lucky that I'm, again, like not financially tied down so that more of my money can go to that. And a lot of times I get to stay with people. Like I bought this trip to Mexico with my Delta Sky Miles and I'm staying with a friend. So I can come back here several times a year because I have it covered, right? I should really do some more travel tips and things like that because sometimes I think a lot of people think that I'm like really wealthy. I'm not. I just figure out ways to make it work because I need this right now. But I do love that like it's inspiring to people. And even if it's a short trip or one trip a year, or maybe it's not overseas, but you do that camping trip with your family that you've been wanting to do forever. I hope that people are inspired by what I'm doing now and what I've created from this absolute pile of crap that I got myself into. So thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. I do also, so I'm an Enneagram 7, and if any of you know the Enneagram, I get sick of doing the same things over and over again. So for me, the abuse content, it comes in waves. Sometimes I'm like, I'm never talking about this again. And then it comes in waves where I get inspired and I'm like, I have not talked about this covert, subtle, ridiculous thing that I went through. And like things pop up. Like a friend will remind me of something, or I'll find like in my archives, I'll find something and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should talk about that. Other people are going to relate to this and other people need to see this. But I also want to do other things. And this is always going to be me. And I think that a lot of people do like that because they see like the real me. Like I am not a person who can just pump out abuse content, like 20 videos a day on TikTok, because I'll lose my mind. I have to talk about other things. So I really love that you all want to know these other things about me too. So thank you for asking. Enjoy your life, girl. You're not pretentious. Traveling is hard to save up for. We've planned a trip to Spain, France, and Italy. That is so awesome. I'm so excited for you. How much is the webinar? It's $25. $25. So yeah, like I said, it's a really good tool for people who aren't like financially ready to make the commitment for coaching or therapy, but need really awesome information really fast. So I'm really excited about the webinar because I am how do I say this? I grew up really poor. And so I have a really hard time like asking people for money and asking people to oh, I mean, a shirt. Does anyone want it? You don't have to have it. I'm really bad at it. And I'm like, does anyone want to go to this webinar that I'm on? But you don't have to go. But it's going to be really helpful. And I am really hopeful that people will take advantage of the opportunity. And learn something good from it. If you do go to the webinar, and I'm going to post this in my stories, if you go to the webinar, reach out to me and tell me what stood out to you. Tell me what you learned that you didn't know. Tell me what you thought of it, whatever, because I want to know, if this is something that I should be a part of more, for like, if you guys all want more I didn't arrange the webinar. It's not my webinar. I'm on the panel. I'm a panelist. So is this something that like we as a group need to be doing more of, or was it like, meh, I don't think it'll be that, but yeah, I definitely want to know what y'all think of it. So anything else? Any last comments? I have plenty of time, but I figured I would pop off and get some other stuff done. If everybody's feeling good. If you do have any more questions about the webinar, you can DM me. Once we head out and today we're just going to hang out at home. We're going to eat lunch here and then do the webinar later. Oh, wow, you're going to Greece. That sounds amazing. Yes, I am going to Greece. Thank you for bringing that up. That's not something that I've been talking about as much because the webinar is first. And I'm like, no, I got to talk about the webinar before I talk about Greece. But I am hosting a trip to Greece next year. And I'm going to try to start doing hosting 2 or 3 trips a year, as my platform grows, because I really want to offer a safe space for queer folks and abuse survivors, because those are 2 groups that, y'all, we have struggled and we're vulnerable. And we have fear of the unknown, and what is this going to be like? Am I going to be accepted? And it's going to be all women. You have to be a woman, or you can be non-binary and you can be trans. You just can't be a cis man. You're not coming if you're a cis man, right? I want it to be inclusive of the queer community. I want it to be safe. And I just want it to be a really awesome, healing, fun, relaxing, but adventurous space for people who might not be able to travel that way otherwise. So yes, Greece is August of 2023. The first 10 people to book get an early bird discount. So if that's something you're looking into, definitely check that out. The link is in my bio. And also I have a highlight on my Instagram. You can make payments on it. So a lot of people see the price. It is a little bit pricey. A lot of people see the price and they get overwhelmed by it, but you can make payments. You have to do to book it, you have to do, I think, 25% down, and then you can arrange to make payments. And I'm sure it's all different depending on your credit and all that stuff. And then it just has to be paid off 60 days before the trip itself. But everything is all planned out. Like they have, hotels will be booked, transportation will be booked, like our meals will be planned out. Not all meals are covered, but it's going to be really awesome. They take all the stress off of all of us. All you have to do is sign up for it. So I'm really, really excited for it. And like I said, I am going to try to do one or two more if my schedule allows for it, and if people want to go. I want to travel with friends in a safe space. Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of you hosting a trip for a group of people to be safe in and more comfortable rather than traveling alone. Yeah, because it's really daunting, especially if you've never traveled, to plan a trip, to figure out where to go to a new country where you don't speak the language, even though obviously if you go to a big city, there's going to be people who speak English. Um, and I just like traveling is such a huge part of who I am. It's when I'm the happiest. Like if you meet me in real life, if you come to my house, you'll see me a little bit like stressed out. You'll be like, she can't hold still. We're having a conversation. She just got up and washed a dish. Now she's back. Like I just am not very relaxed in real life. But when I go on a trip, pase lo que pase, I'll figure it out. I'm good. Um, So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna once I have a little bit more time, I'm gonna look at some more and see if I can launch another trip or two for 2023. Oh, that feels weird to even say. I love it. Time is going so fast. But yeah, I will be talking about it more after the webinar because that'll be like, it is a year from now, but it gives people, if you know you want to go, it gives you time to plan and save and look at tickets, flights and things like that. So yeah, definitely check it out. The information is all there. There's like, so if you click on the link, it'll take you to the trip website. I learned the most about myself, and I really like myself when I'm traveling. I like who I am when I'm traveling, and I don't feel like I'm so, I don't know, I have to be a certain way. I just get to exist. All right. So yeah, as soon as this webinar is over, I'll start talking about it more. And again, I'm going to start talking about how like the whole goal of me hosting these trips, because there are a lot of people who do host these trips and there are all kinds of people, is to have that safe space for queer folks and for survivors, because it's hard to find. All right, let me see how to turn this around. This is the trip page. And it's beautiful and I love it. Pictures of me traveling, pictures of Greece, and then it talks about when it is, how to book, when it's due, what's provided, what the activities are, all of that stuff. So yeah, I will start. I'll start sharing about that soon. So yeah, thank you for looking at that and reminding me to talk about it. Yeah, we'll go from there. Anyway, I am going to take off. I am going to work on some other things. But please, please, please check out the link in my bio for the webinar. I have some information in my story I posted a thing about like what we're going to be talking about and stuff like that. Join the webinar if you can, if it's something that you feel like would help you. And stay tuned for more from me, because as my schedule starts to get a little bit more of a routine and I start to understand like when I have free time and whatnot, I'm going to be coming up with more stuff, planning more things. I will be doing a meet and greet in Austin, Texas, October 15th. So if you're in or can get to that area or whatever, it's not just going to be me. There's going to be 8 of us creators there, and we'll be offering the meet and greet's going to be free, but I think you still have to buy tickets for it. In fact, I'm going to post that on my stories today. And then all of us are going to be offering one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions. So if you're like, I'm nearby, I really just want to sit with this person, instead of doing it on Zoom or whatever, it's going to be really awesome. And I'm excited to meet some of you if you can make it. So I'll post that here soon. I was supposed to post it already, but it's a lot. I'm not great. Like I said, I'm not great at marketing. I'm not great at like just like sharing, like, this is what I'm doing. This is what you have to do. if you want to. Here we go. So anyway, thank you all so much for hanging out and for your questions and for your trust in me and for your support and encouragement and all the things. I really am so grateful for this space that you have all helped me create. Take care of yourselves. Go drink some water. I have my electrolytes here. So I will see you all soon. Bye bye.